Today on Locked On Phoenix Suns, a lot of the optimism, if you have it, about the Kevin Durant trade has to come down to not having Bradley Beal on the team, maximizing Jalen Green, being competitive next season, clearing the cap books, all of it. So can the Suns actually pull it off? Let's go.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. I'm Brendon, Kleen, a staff writer at Offload Announcing and a credentialed Suns media member. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen here on this Tuesday. Don't forget, Locked On Suns, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button. Do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer. Get locked on to the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $150, get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Get to one last farewell segment to Kevin Durant and two draft breakdowns. But first, Bradley Beal joining me to break it down, as always, from the Wild West Valley, my fellow Suns credentialed media member. How are we feeling? Ben Garcia.
I've turned from this news is terrible to bitter. So I don't know what the 5 stages of grief are, but maybe I'm in bargaining because the Kevin Durant stuff, like we're all done and it doesn't seem like we got the best thing for it. So I'll let you know when I reach acceptance.
I've been very surprised to see, like, there was a Twitter poll from Burns and Gambo. There was the ESPN trade grade gave him a B. The Burns and Gambo poll, 60% of people were okay with the trade. I'm surprised. I don't think it's the worst the Suns could have done by any means, and it fit my scale, as I've said a million times. But I thought it would be more disappointing to people. But maybe we're on the outside looking in here. But let's get to the first domino to fall, outside of taking a player at 10, of course, which we'll get to close the show. But Bradley Beal, I think, is the next order of business for this team, Ben. And if you're making any sort of case for how Jalen Green can stay on this team next season and develop his game, help this team win games, and, behind the scenes, under the radar, maybe up his trade value eventually, it starts and stops with Bradley Beal being out of the way, as unfortunate as that is for him, because the guard room, if you want to call it that, is just too clogged up right now.
It's crowded.
And
it's not,
yeah.
Sorry, continue. I was just going to say it's crowded. And it kind of reminds me of years ago when the Suns had a bunch of wings and it was Mikal and Cam and Josh Jackson and TJ Warren. And it was like they have a bunch of these wings, but we're not really sure any of them are really good. Like, we know Booker's really good. We know Mikal at that point was really good, but Cam was still raw. TJ Warren, we're not really sure if he's just a buckets guy. Josh Jackson, he fell flat on his face. And so with this shooting guard room, it's Beal, who's, you can't even say he is what he is anymore. I think he's just a negative asset. Jalen Green, I'm willing to say we're not sure yet. I guess maybe he could find a different realm that maybe he can be this next level guy, but it's clear it's too crowded, man. Any team that shows any sense of competitive or wants to be taken seriously next year cannot have a rotation of Allen, Beal, Booker, and Jalen Green. It's just not going to fit.
Yeah, I think we all are on the same page, and it's the final ingredient of the trade that we didn't get to yesterday because it's the smallest. But the Suns got 5 second-round picks, and I don't know what the negotiations looked like. I would rather just have Cam Whitmore and keep Bradley Beal or whatever, if I'm being honest. Although I guess if they got Green, it wouldn't have made a ton of sense to get Whitmore too. Whatever. But if you told me the seconds were part of a master plan to get off of Bradley Beal's contract, I suppose I could see that. It'd be sure nice to not have to give up a first-round pick in order to do that, let alone multiple. But I just, Ben, don't see it almost to me like, so Gambo's reporting that they're going to move on from him. We'll get to the destinations as far as a mid-level for him could go to make that happen from a cutting standpoint. As far as a trade, though, it almost just sort of feels like we're talking ourselves in circles and we're like, oh, we haven't done that news cycle in a while. Let's drum up the optimism about a Beal trade again. Because I still, nothing's changed. I still look around the league like I did in December, like I did in April, like I can do right now in June. I don't see anyone that would be in any hurry to take him or his money.
Forget him. Well, the much bigger obstacle is his money. I don't like coming on here and being doom and gloom and, peeing all over the aspirations of Suns fans. But like, I even see last night, and listen, it's not a shot on anyone, but like Flex is saying on PHNX Suns last night, he's like, there's a reason they got 5 second-round picks instead of 1 first-round pick. I'm like, wouldn't it be easier to move Beal if you gave someone a first-round pick instead of 5 seconds? But
I don't know about that, because I think that there's something to be said that the first would almost be too valuable, and you wouldn't want to. It's stupid. I would rather just take a first and keep Beal, if I'm being 100% honest.
Agreed.
That would be my preference. But if you're talking about trading him, I guess I can understand that perspective, that if you get Houston only has so many firsts. A lot of them are pretty good first because they've done a lot of smart trades. If you get one of those, you don't want to give that up for Bradley Beal. So maybe the seconds make more sense there. But it all comes back to, what's the freaking trade?
Well, I don't know how much of this you did today. Sounds like you were pretty busy, but I was on Spot Track, and if you want to say like, oh, the Nets would love Bradley Beal and he would love to go to Brooklyn. You keep forgetting, not you, but he also has to say yes to the trade. Everyone is saying Bradley Beal is not going to be here next year. Have they ran that by Bradley Beal? Have they told Bradley Beal, we do not want you here? Way more directly than maybe they told Kevin Durant that we don't want you here. So I looked at a bunch of different teams, man. The Bulls, the Hornets, like all these teams that you would think would take draft capital back because they're not close to competing in exchange for Bradley Beal's contract. No one has the assets. And when I say assets, I mean the money outside of maybe the Wizards and not even the Hornets even really, but like the Wizards. Are you willing to take Marcus Smart and I think it's Chris Middleton back in a deal for Bradley Beal? But then you have some of the same issues of like, it's too much redundancy of what you already have. It was Jordan Poole and Marcus Smart. Okay, you want to bring back 2 more small guards to this team? Like, I don't see a world where you find a destination for Bradley Beal that makes sense, that isn't you super overpaying just to not have him on your roster.
I honestly, frankly, don't even care. Poole would probably be a bridge too far, but I think you can do that trade with Middleton as well.
It's too much money.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't know what the Suns cap situation or the Wizards cap situation is going to look like by the time that they could orchestrate a trade like this. So there's a world where the Suns could just bring back a little more than Beal makes if they're under the first apron, if they somehow, whatever. So they dumped Grayson Allen in a trade, and now all of a sudden they got even more wiggle room, things like that. I think it's close enough I could see it happening.
That's a good point.
To me, though, if you could do Smart and Middleton and you had to give up a first-round pick even, one of the ones like 2027, the Cavs-Utah pick that they have, for instance, or their own 2028, they have some kind of way that they can do something with that, I believe. Or even the 2029 Cleveland-Utah pick. I would just do it no matter what you're getting back. I don't even care. I'll cut both of the players at that point. I mean, it's about those. Middleton and Smart, for instance, have no money after this season. I thought of something like C.J. McCollum and some other money from the Pelicans could be one, right? Too. But that's hard to get to. I mean, Kelly Olynyk gets you to $43 million. I didn't run that one through, anything close to, seeing if it would actually work, but that doesn't get you all the way to exact money. And at that point, you're starting to get to, hold on, why would the Pelicans? That's like some decent players, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so, McCollum's a fine player. I mean, he's not what he used to be, but he's fine.
Yeah. Exactly. So those are two expiring players. But yeah, whether they use the seconds, whether they use firsts, I just why would the conversation be different than it was all season when we were talking about this? And you're right obviously we always have to come back to the no trade clause. So I unless you have another trade spot or anything like that, I think that the other thing to bring up is the other conversation we've basically been having since he, in my opinion, got pretty close to quitting on the team. I don't know his intentions, so I'm not going to try to say that he did it anything like that, but he definitely stopped giving his all and started giving some pretty poor answers publicly. And the place we went then was like, hey, could he sign somewhere on a mid-level type contract, get some wiggle room to give some money back to the Suns in a buyout, whether that's just a 2-year buyout or whether that's a stretch. It'd have to give a lot more money back to do the 2-year version. And I don't even know necessarily where that is. Like you said, the money's the main problem. Multiple seasons of a mid-level exception starts to get you into the territory of 30, 40 million guaranteed dollars to this guy. And I just think from a health standpoint, even a team that just wants some scoring, I don't know. I think you could probably do better elsewhere.
We're trying to set reasonable expectations, but Brendon, go through the teams. I saw someone be like, well, could you facilitate Drew Holiday to the Suns? I'm like, the Celtics are trying to cut money, not gain money. And you're looking through some of these teams. I mean, even like the Hornets, man, they got LaMelo Ball. The Orlando Magic just traded for Desmond Bane, and like they've got guys over there that can play the one spot. The Clippers, like the Pelicans. I don't see the landing spot. So unless the Suns, everyone is alluding to, and I would lump Gambo into this, and Flex and other people, is just like everyone is making it seem like the Suns are playing 5D chess right now, and no one knows where their next move is coming from, and they've got someone just ready to pull the rug out from under them and fleece them in a Bradley Beal deal. If they have it, I don't see it, man. I don't see what team out there. I've seen people say if the Suns are able to buy out Bradley Beal, they'd be interested in him, in terms of like, I've seen like Lakers fans maybe throw that out there, but like it gets really sophisticated. Then he has to take a pay cut to get out of here. It's just too tough, man.
The idea of the Suns just buy him out and he goes to a team on the minimum is literally not possible or an option. So they can keep.
It's not happening. It's not happening.
It's not legal. They can't buy him out for his full salary. That's why we keep talking about he has to get at least a mid-level from another team, give that much money back. Otherwise, the Suns are not legally allowed to have as much dead money on their books as they would if they paid him his full salary. That's the whole thing. So it's not possible. Tim Hardaway Jr., D'Angelo Russell, Karis LeVert, Dennis Schroeder, these are all guys who are also just free agents this summer that I could see teams. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I could go on. Like, those guys all would be at least close to or more appealing to me, depending on what team I am, than Bradley Beal, just because they're going to play. You know what I mean? So I'm still really skeptical. There's enough smoke here that I tend to believe that it's going to happen in some way, shape, or form, but
can I ask you one more question?
It's going to be a borderline miracle to even to get him off this team, no matter how they try to do it.
Would you trade Beal? I'm if you can get rid of Beal for 5 second-round picks and cut up his money anywhere, like I don't care where it comes from. Agreed. Marcus Smart, Middleton, I don't care. Would you do it for a first-round pick? Because I'm going to be honest with you, dude, because the Suns aren't contenders next year, and because maybe you just sit him on the bench, and I'm not fond of the rotation either, but I'd rather keep the pick than just move him, because I want to have swings at the bat, man. Even if it's a late-round pick, I don't want to just get rid of Beal just to get rid of him. Like, it's not worth it to me. Is it worth it to you?
You and I were on the same page until recently. Like I said, we've gone through so many permutations of this deal at this point that I'm like, but the Green acquisition, if they really are going to keep him, I don't know how you can keep Beal.
Yeah.
You're just asking for problems. You have 3 dudes who play the exact same position, and they're the 3 most highly paid players on your – it's like the exact same thing we've been saying with Durant, Booker, and Beal, except even less of a good fit. So I don't know. That would give me more urgency to get Beal off the team, but I agree with you that they're going to regret if they have to overspend to get it done.
Unless they're prepared to lose other guys. But anyways, continue.
Yeah, well, overspend.
Yeah.
Whatever, if it's a player, if it's picks, whatever. I think you could easily end up in a situation where you regret the deal you end up doing. There's been some Kevin Durant aftermath, and while he's not a member of the Phoenix Suns anymore, it definitely impacts the way we're going to look at this team in the recent past and the recent future, or the near future. So let's round those up and bid one last farewell to KD next. First, today's show brought to you by Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all that money go? Well, we all do. Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track, but that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over all your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. Track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. told you before, I am like getting to that age with a little bit in the savings account, not too shabby, but nothing great. I'm like, how do I maybe get this to a better place? How do I at least start, planning ahead, getting some extra coin where I can? And I frankly have no idea where to get started. Obviously, there's all the places to go invest, but I'm like, do I have enough? What's reasonable? Am I going to have enough for the next thing I want to buy if it's all locked away in some fake account somewhere that's supposed to be accruing money allegedly? I don't know, but Monarch Money knows. So take control of your finances today with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. All right, let's keep it rolling. There have been a couple of different viral headlines about Kevin Durant in the aftermath of the trade, Ben, that I think we should hit on here. As sort of the last conversation I think we'll have from this whole KD sweepstakes that has eaten up the summer. The first was KD, who we mentioned in our live reaction show on Sunday afternoon, was on stage at Fanatics Fest when this trade went down, which was unusual for sure. He was asked by Kay Adams in a little, phone video post on social media at the festival what his message would be to disappointed Suns fans. And he had a hard-to-parse answer. The question was about fans. The viral tweet that went around framed it as if he was talking about fans. His words said, "They wanted me gone." I don't know. We'll never know. I don't think he's going to ever clarify because it's not super important at the end of the day, I guess, to him what he said, and he probably was caught off guard by it. But let's start there, and then we'll get into more of the team building stuff aspect of this aftermath here, Ben. But I don't think it's inaccurate if he was talking about the front office to say that from his standpoint, he's gone because they wanted him gone.
Agreed with you, but I'm not taking that angle. I think he was talking about fans. She pointed to a fan. She asked about the fans. I get what you're trying to say that maybe, and you're right. If he was talking about the front office, you're right. They literally wanted him gone. They tried to do it behind his back, and that is all fair. But I thought it was incredibly low. If that was after fans, and I'll add the if, I thought it was incredibly low because I would say most Suns fans wanted Kevin Durant here, especially after they heard some of the trade packages. They wish they could just run it out with him. And what I took from it was I'm so bleeping sensitive that I read everything online and that 100% of it wasn't pro Kevin Durant, that I'm going to take it as all the fans don't want me here. Dude, in this fan base that so desperately wants to win, all they ever asked was to win. They supported him. They threw an effing, I'm sure you were there, an effing pep rally for the guy when he showed up. He said he set the standard. He said because he's one of the best basketball players of all time. He mentioned that at his pep rally press conference. I don't think he lived up to his end of the bargain. I don't think the Suns lived up to their end of the bargain. And I thought it was low to have the appearance of to go after fans. Like, dude, just go to Houston. You got your thing. Go to Houston. And I thought it was low. And I just to go after and like the I would ask you this. Do you think
people fan he could have been talking to fans and still referencing being the front office? Just to play devil's advocate, because I don't want to just make a decision on what another person was saying and then run away with the take because we want to like get our thoughts on it off on him. So can we at least agree we don't know what he meant?
No, I think he was talking about fans.
How do you know what he meant? You can't read people's minds?
Kay Adams asked him about the fans. She pointed to a fan.
And his message could have been to the fans and saying the word they is the whole thing that this hinges on. They, meaning the people you just asked about in your question, or they, meaning the people who I'm thinking in my head when I say the word they, and I'm thinking of the front office. So that's all I'm saying. We don't know. I agree with what you're saying if it was about the fans. I don't think it's fair at all to... Also, that's just not... It's such a broad strokes. We do a podcast every day. I don't think either you and I would ever try to say we know what every fan thinks. or try to even imagine a world where all the fans even agree on anything. So if that's what he meant, I would really hope he would have some more perspective than to take a shot like that and so quickly forget the way that he was embraced and the good moments, even though they were few and far between, that he did have here. But I'm just saying that I don't know. And a part of the reason I would give some credence to the idea that he was talking about the front office is because, like I said at the beginning, I happen to 100% agree that the whole main reason that it got here in a lot of ways is because they tried to trade him behind his back. And that's why the value got so crappy, which we're about to talk about. And that's a lot of why I think the relationship deteriorated. And that's why the season went south. A lot of things can be traced back to Matt Ishbia calling up the Warriors and the Wolves and the Heat in February and pissing off KD and Rich Kleiman royally.
Sure. I'm willing to listen to whatever. But, man, there was this topic of Kevin Durant's departure, and I want to ask you this because you're the old school media guy, but it kind of made its rounds. Do you think the media that was so unfair to Kevin, and one thing I've learned while watching Kevin here is nothing is ever his fault. It's always someone else's. But do you think the media and the fan base had anything to do with Kevin Durant not wanting to be here anymore?
Kevin Durant did not ask for a trade this summer. So I don't really think that the premise of the question is necessarily right. I'm not trying to be difficult, but I just think it's important to frame it right. He didn't ask to be traded. That's kind of part back to the Kay Adams thing. So I don't think that the media or the fans or any of the backlash or criticism or talk online is part of why we're in the situation that we're in. We're in the situation we're in is because they fell on their face for 2 straight seasons. But I also don't think that no matter what you feel about the trade or KD's comments or any part of the era of KD being here, it is important to remember he never asked out. And I don't know if he would have in a ideal world. Now, he wasn't going to compete for a championship, so I think he obviously accepted the trade, had his list, and controlled the proceedings pretty aggressively. So I'm not saying he had no hand in it, but he didn't force his way out of here. So even then, it's like, well, who is it really anybody's fault? It's almost like it's just all the players' fault at that point.
I would lean. Listen, no. Just the answer is no. Fan bases and media don't have anything to do with players' departure in any way, shape, or form. If they do, that is incredibly soft and an indictment of the player. I would just say,
and of the front office who sends them out.
I would just say, as a last farewell to KD, I was really excited to watch him play with another team and root for him. I was really rooting for the Heat against an Eastern Conference team, but even the Rockets. I'm just going to be impartial. I don't really care anymore. I wish him the success, but I'm not going to root for it from the sidelines. I'm just going to be impartial and indifferent because of the way I believe he's handled yesterday up until today. I do believe has been a middle finger to Suns fans. And I think it's honestly been a little bit of a middle finger to Devin Booker to some extent, if some of the other reporting is true, that he was making it tougher. So I'm just going to be indifferent, wish him well. And if he wins the
how much do you
cool,
think, last thing there, do you think it affected this whole situation if Brian Windhorst's reporting is to be believed that KD lowered the price down by rejecting trades and everything else? How do you think that actually ultimately affected what they got? Because we're hearing in the days and hours since, it's almost like, the Spurs basically never even made an offer. The Heat wouldn't forget Kel'el Ware. They wouldn't even include Nikola Jovic in the trade. It was like Jaquez and maybe a pick if you really pull twist our arms, like we'll get you one type thing. So I guess you could look at that and say it's because of Durant, but I also just don't know if the offers were ever out there, to be honest.
Yes, to the whole thing. I don't think the offers are really there, and I think Kevin Durant made it difficult. Not as difficult as I think Windhorst is maybe saying it to be, which is why I think Gamble kind of shut it down a little bit. But I don't think the offers were really there for them to really have any other avenues that KD would shut down. Like maybe KD shut down a Minnesota Timberwolves trade, but maybe it was Rudy Gobert and a pick. And I don't know. Terrence Shannon or whatever. Like, I don't think it's going to be great. I don't think it was ever that great for KD just to knock him down. I think he just played a role in it. So, good luck to KD, man. Too. Good luck to KD, but whatever. Are you relieved it's over? Because I'm relieved it's over. I wish it would have went differently, but I'm relieved that it's done.
Sure. For now, I'd like for them to not completely continue to crap all over themselves like they have for 3 years. So
they were doing that with KD.
Yeah. Well, agreed, but I don't care if KD's gone if that continues. That's the part I'd like to be over, not Kevin Durant being here.
I'd agree. I'm done with, dude, he's still going after media members and he's on a different team now. He's still going after Phoenix media members and he's on a different team. Like, God, dude, just go out the door. We broke up. It's done. Stop sending another text message. You don't need to get the final word. You got your way.
He still talks to Nets people. It's not going to end. He's not going to stop. He comments about the Warriors stuff. He goes on Draymond's pod and has his word. I think it's just how it is. But let's get to our draft breakdowns of the day. 2 big men that the Suns could go after on Wednesday night. Next. First today's show brought to you by Open Phone. That's right. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had an urgent need, maybe a plumber or a service provider, or me who's waiting on my refrigerator to be checked out, and we're not getting any ice. I know it's a very big, huge problem, but it obviously gets frustrating when you keep running into a waiting signal or a voicemail and you're jumping around because you don't have a company you're dealing with, or if you run a company, you're losing business. If you're on the other end, you're not getting the service and the business you want. But Open Phone solves all that. It's the #1 business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or computer. Open Phone is offering our listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OPENPHONE.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you have existing numbers with another service, Open Phone will port them over at no extra charge. Open Phone. No missed calls, no missed customers. We actually got one more lovely sponsor today. Ben, you can hang out on the screen for this one. It is the FanDuel Sportsbook, as I said at the top of the show, because our new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. The summer sports are in full swing. Whether you're about baseball, golf, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? And with FanDuel, you can do just that, getting in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. Let's see. Just hit the favorites on the WNBA. I almost don't even need to read it off for you because that is about the surest big odds that you're going to find this time of year. We got on Wednesday night the Las Vegas Aces minus 1,800 against the Connecticut Sun. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 on a heavy favorite like that and get $150 in bonus bets straight to your account if that bet wins. So open the FanDuel app today. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. All right, Ben. 2 big men to talk about here. Thomas Sorber from Georgetown, Derik Kleen from Maryland. Which did you like more? Let's start with that guy.
I think I like Derik Kleen a little bit more.
Okay.
I really liked. Now, listen, neither of these guys are shooters. I think Derik Kleen attempted 35 of them in his time at Maryland. I think it's kind of close between which guy you like more, but he's. I'm not so sure if he's going to be a 5 or a 4 in the NBA. He's 6'10", but he's kind of a smaller 6'10". He kind of reminds me of a well put together Oso Iguodala. Like if Oso could get to the rim at will, you could tell he's pretty talented, good passer. Footwork is good. Defensively, I thought he was, again, he's kind of tiny, but he's really coordinated. What did you think of him?
I think that Kleen is one of the bigger boom bust guys in the entire draft.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
And so that's why, from a Sun standpoint, like I hate to think of it this way because typically I just want every team to take the player that they think is best, and usually that works out. But in this particular case, I was tweeting with Sam Cooper of the Timeline earlier today, and I put it that I am back to kind of that 2010s mindset right now in the draft where I need Suns-proof players. Like they need to be able to rise above the BS that's going on around here right now and develop and hit and focus in spite of all of the noise and the nonsense. And so if you're talking about Bradley Beal on the team, frustrated, and Jalen Green's trying to develop in a new system and a first-time head coach and a bunch of young guys and Booker noise around, is he going to, every day on First Take, there's all that stuff. Like, Derik Queen's not the kind of player that I necessarily want to bring into that situation because I think he really needs the right environment. There's been rumors and reports about, is he in great shape? Is he super focused during the pre-draft stuff? Not to mention he's already a pretty raw player in the first place. So he could be, I've seen him compared to Naz Reid. I've seen him compared to Alperen Şengün on like the high end. He could be that. That'd be awesome. Of course I would take that on the Suns. But he also could be out of the league in 5 years because some of these guys just don't pan out and he's not an elite athlete. So that's where I'm at. And I don't know if the Suns can afford to take a guy like that right now.
75 of his points came at the rim. He, again, Naz Reid and Alperen Şengün, I don't think is, like, again, high end. But I don't think this guy works with the Suns because they want to get a stretch 5, stretch 4 on this team. They don't have that. Which is also kind of the same thing with Thomas Sorber, where I kind of worry about is if the Suns are truly going after this stretch 5, stretch 4, open up things around the rim for Devin Booker, but probably mostly Jalen Green, I don't see him, particularly Derik Queen, working because, yes, maybe he does develop that, but he hasn't shown, at least the college level, that he has a consistent jumper. In fact, it's
I don't think either of these guys are going to be shooters right now, and so
I think Queen more than Sorber could be, but I'd agree that probably.
But Sorber actually took more per game than Queen did.
I know, but I know.
I just think both guys. It's like it's something they're gonna like. Mitchell Robinson shot some threes in college. Great. Okay, that didn't turn into anything. So I think to me, they're both, interior players. I think the thing about Queen is he probably can create his own shot at a high end ceiling outcome for him, whereas Sorber cannot. He's going to be a rim rolling type of player. But I think to maybe pivot to Sorber a little bit, he has great hands. He is a better athlete vertically. He's more explosive than Queen is. He's only 6'9", 6'10", similar to Queen, but he has a monster wingspan. So he probably could play center more easily. The game that I was watching through that was on YouTube of his, he was defending a much bigger veteran upperclassman at Syracuse in the post, and he was handling himself despite being a freshman. He's a good rebounder. He's really, seems to play a lot harder. Motor runs a little higher, things like that. So that to me is, again, it just feels like a more reliable thing to bank on given where the Suns are at right now. And I think, frankly, somebody who could maybe contribute, like what Yves Missi did for New Orleans this year. It's not like he was making the highlight reel on Twitter every night, but Missi played minutes on a real NBA team. The Suns hopefully can be better than New Orleans was this past year, but, I think that Sorber could do that. I'm not sure Queen can. I think Queen's going to be a project.
I like Queen more in terms of a player because I would agree with you as well. I think his ceiling is much higher, but he's a really tough player to evaluate. Sorber, again, more of the sure thing. He's a better defender than Queen. I think he has a 7'6" wingspan. I think that's what you were talking about before. So he's probably going to play the 5. Good passer, but he's kind of the reason why I'm not thrilled about either one, although if we're going to pick one, I'd probably take Sorber because of the more sure thing. They just don't do anything really differently than what the Suns already have on their roster. So if they had to go here, fine. But but
the thing with the spacing, you can't, it's already one thing to draft for fit positionally. You can't afford to be like, well, we need a center, but we'd really like if he could space. Okay, well, great. There's no spacing bigs available at 10.
Mm-hmm. Well, then it might tell you
exist.
That. Well, I think it might tell you then. Well, Maxine Raynell. I mean, that is one
guy. But again, he's 10.
No, they're not going to. But that is my point I was trying to say. Maybe if you're maybe this, as we go through these two, you see that this maybe isn't the archetype or prototype or prototypical center that the Suns want for this version of the NBA. Maybe this tells you, because of the worries of Derik Queen and his ability to maybe boom or bust, and Thomas Sorber his very maybe old school type of NBA, that they're going to go a different position. Maybe a forward, a 3-and-D guy.
Well,
like I mean,
that old school NBA is like, Al Jefferson.
Yeah.
There's plenty of guys like Sorber or a guy we haven't talked about, Malawak, who's, probably just like a better archetype of what Sorber is, who's still playing big minutes. I mean, you and I were fawning over in the early stages of the KD stuff, like before the flag lottery happened. We're like, well, what if Dallas gave the Suns Lively or Gafford in a KD trade? That'd be awesome. Well, that's what Sorber is. So I think that, those guys succeed for sure, and I could see it working here. I agree the Suns need a floor spacing center out of this offseason some type of way. It'd be nice to get it in the draft and have it long term, but we've also talked about guys maybe with the taxpayer MLE. They go get Al Horford if he leaves Boston, or they go get, who worked with Jordan Ott 10 years ago. Maybe that's their option at that spot, or something like that. I don't think they have to do it in the draft, and I wouldn't hate bringing a guy like Sorber in as one of your rotation pieces. Now, you're right, though. Like, does that do you just try to dump Nick Richards at that point? Like, what that would be interesting. I don't know what they would do there.
Sorber, who would you comp this guy to? I feels like Lively is a stretch.
No, I mean, yeah, he's not as tall as Lively. He's not as agile with the ball as Lively is. I mean, I don't know. Throw any of the Gafford. I just said Gafford. Throw the backup. I don't know. I'm just looking at the standings. Indiana Pacers, their backup center Isaiah Jackson. Jalen Durant from Detroit.
Jalen Duran's a good one.
On down the line. Any of Clint Capella, Onyeka Okongwu in Atlanta.
I had Clint Capella. I had Clint Capella on my list out here too, but I thought maybe that was a little too. But and Clint Capella's a little bit undersized. I think Clint Capella's 6'9". I don't know, man. Neither of these guys, like when you talk about the 10 pick on its own, yes, man. Maybe one of these guys, sure, fits the mold, but I'm also in my own mind, which is probably the wrong thing, is like I'm trying to win the trade a little bit more too, because when you talk about a deal of who the hell did they get back? Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks and Thomas Sorber, and you talk about his ceiling, I understand his floor might be kind of high, but I'm looking for that happy medium of like might break out, but probably likely here, but also his floor isn't gonna fall through the basement. So that's what I'm the same way.
I agree. If they took Sorber, I wouldn't come on here on draft night and be crying
I wouldn't
tears
be upset.
of happiness.
I wouldn't be upset either, because I get the fit and I get what you said before. The Suns need some consistency at the center spot, so I get it. I just looking for a little bit more, and I can't get super excited about him.
No. There will be more guys we've already talked about and who we will talk about, I guess, tomorrow that I think are a little more exciting. Definitely. Let's close it there. Hit follow or subscribe if you have not already. Become an everydayer. The draft is just around the corner, and there will be more fireworks, to be sure, from the Suns personnel. Enjoy your Tuesday. We'll catch you tomorrow.